Pope Paul VI said that modern man listens more willingly to witnesses than to teachers. And if he does listen to teachers, it is because they are witnesses. I believe today, more than ever before, a personal testimony is an important tool. We find that people who are not interested in objective reality and objective truth are interested in hearing each other's stories and different perspectives. So if you have a story of how God changed your life, people need to hear that. And I believe every disciple needs to be able to share their story with other people. Now, what is a personal testimony? It's essentially the story of God's victory in your life. How is your life different because you are a Christian? You're essentially telling people that story. I like to explain a testimony in 4 essential components. There's different ways of describing this, but this is what I find comfortable. Now, the first component of a testimony is the backstory. What was your life like before you truly knew God? I mean, this may be before, if you're a convert, this may be before you were even a Christian, or this may be a place before you had a full awareness of what being a Christian meant. But what was the backstory and what were the deep questions in your heart before you really came to know God personally? The second point is the turning point. So what was that moment or that activity or that event that helped you come to realize on a deeper level who God is and what He desired for your life? How did you come to realize that God wanted to be in relationship with you? And how did you come to respond to that? That's the second point, the turning point. The third component is the after effect. So presumably, when we have committed our lives to Christ, we've asked God to be the center of our life, there's a change that happens. So what was different? How did this new experience of faith, this new life, how did that look differently than things looked before? What questions were answered? And what looked differently? Tell people that story. And finally, I would say the fourth component of a personal testimony is the invitation. If you can share your testimony in a way that allows other people or invites other people to explore this in their own life, maybe to respond in their own life, then that's a great personal testimony. So to review, the 4 components of a personal testimony: the backstory, the turning point, the after effect, and the invitation. If your testimony has all of these things and you're ready and willing to share it with people, you'll be amazed at what happens. People are really receptive to personal stories, and people need to hear your story. The first time I prepared my personal testimony, it felt really uncomfortable because you're talking about your past, the weaknesses you came to know in yourself, the ways in which God has touched your life, which can even feel a little bit funny just talking about personally how God has touched your life. And so I had reservations about my testimony. I had all kinds of thoughts about how they would respond. But I'll tell you, I'm really glad that I learned and got comfortable sharing my testimony, because the opportunities come up all the time. Sometimes people might ask you in a church context. Others might ask you in just a passing conversation. They might want to know more about your faith life, why you believe what you believe. I mean, I've shared my testimony on buses and airports, at invitations to speak to groups. I just find there's all these opportunities to talk about what God's done in your life, and that people really respond to that.